Fear isn't your problem. Your excuses are. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the Bulletproof Mindset Podcast, where we will discuss our biggest flops, our darkest skeletons, and the ways in which we can use those experiences to create the bulletproof life. Wherever you are, however you may be tuning in, thank you so much for making us part of your day. I'm Thomas. I'm a certified high-performance coach, a former actor, course creator, a writer, a teacher, and a twice-divorced dad of daughters, just learning every day how to love this life better. Today, we're diving into something that hits home to me closely, and I know it will for every single one of you. It's fear. Fear isn't the problem. Our excuses are the problem. So let's break this down and rebuild your mindset around fear starting right now. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that shapes your behavior. It can protect you, but it can also paralyze you. The problem isn't fear itself, it's how we respond to it. My mentor, Brendan Burchard, in his work on high performance and personal development, he breaks down fear into four main types. Each of these fears holds us back in a very unique way. So let's break them down. Let's understand how they play out in our lives. Okay, here's the first type, a fear of rejection. What is that? Well, it's the fear of not being liked, accepted, valued by others. This fear often prevents us from speaking up, from putting ourselves out there, or taking bold action. Mel Robbins, in her book, The 5-Second Rule, she explains that fear of rejection is deeply wired into our survival instincts. Our ancestors developed on group acceptance to stay alive. So rejection literally feels like a threat to our existence. I want you to imagine that you are an entrepreneur with a great business idea, but you hesitate to post about it on social media. Why? Because you fear people will criticize you, or worse, they're going to ignore you. This fear keeps us from ever stepping into that true potential that we have for an idea. It keeps countless people stuck in the mud with a great idea. The fear of rejection is universal. There is no one who has breathed more than a few minutes in life that hasn't felt or understood or experienced the fear of rejection. The trick is not to eliminate it. It's to recognize that rejection doesn't define your worth. Now, I want you to write that down because we're going to come back to that later. Rejection doesn't define your worth. All right, here's the second fear, the fear of ruin. Now, mostly when we talk about ruin, we're talking about financial hardship, but we can also be talking about just great personal loss. I'm ruined emotionally. I'm ruined relationally. I'm ruined financially, okay? The fear of ruin takes a whole new hold on our lives because we are afraid of taking risks at all that may lead to financial instability or failure or losing what we have worked so hard to gain. This fear often prevents us from investing in ourselves, prevents us from taking the leap into something new. It keeps us standing paralyzed in an open door of opportunity that's laid out for us, but we just can't move forward through the door because we're afraid of losing what we already have gained. James Clear, one of my favorite authors, and if you haven't read this book, you need to go get it, The Atomic Habits. He discusses in this book how fear of financial loss leads to loss aversion. It's actually a psychological phenomenon where we fear losing something twice as much as we value gaining something of equal worth. Imagine that you're stuck in a job that drains you. How many of us that are listening to this podcast right now have not felt that or are not stuck in that position, a job that drains everything from you. But the idea of leaving that job and starting your own business feels impossible. Okay, you worry about losing your steady paycheck, where the bill's gonna get paid, all of those things, even though deep down you know staying where you are is costing you something far greater than money. It's costing you your joy, your happiness, your fulfillment. That feeling of, I love my life. You don't understand that when you're stuck in a job that drains you and you can't take steps to better your occupation or your career. The fear of ruin, it keeps us stuck in that comfort zone that everything is anything but comfortable when you think about it. The key to this is to see the risk as a tool, not a trap. When we look at the risk as a possible trap that we're going to lose something, we don't take action. But when we see the risk as our way through, our way out, our way up, our way over, our way to, it doesn't feel so negative from a risk standpoint anymore. But people that are paralyzed with this fear of ruin, they don't recognize that. The risk is always going to be a trap. And so they don't take action. The third type of fear is fear of responsibility. I also call this fear of success. Again, Brendan Burchard in his book, High Performance Habits, he writes this: most people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of the weight that comes with success. Not afraid to fail at something I try. I'm just afraid of how heavy the burden of that success is going to be. I'm not ready. I'm not cut out. I don't deserve all of those things. Feed the fear of responsibility. Now, think about it this way. You've been casually seeing this person, this man or this woman, for weeks. You guys click on all cylinders, but something is keeping you from being committed to that person. Something is keeping you from stepping through that door of opportunity that on the other side of that door is security, is gratitude, is real love. All of those things build into that relationship, and yet you have a fear of carrying the weight of that relationship. This is the heart of people that have a commitment problem. It's not that they just can't commit. Your fear of commitment is really a fear of responsibility. Perhaps it's that you fear the weight of letting everybody down again. And you just will not go through that door again because you don't trust yourself yet to follow through on that responsibility. That's fear speaking. Instead of excitement, you feel panic. It's the fear that you're going to fail. All of these things feed to that fear of responsibility. So you decline. Relationship example I just went through a little earlier, same thing. You have this opportunity, yet when the conversation comes up, hey, what's the next step? Where do you see this going in another couple of years? You look at that and you say, okay, this is where I get off. I'm done. You decline the opportunity. You convince yourself that you weren't ready yet. I'm not ready yet is one of the biggest cop-outs I've ever experienced. And I've experienced that way too many times in my life, where I have stood there in front of a door of opportunity in many categories of my life, and I have not gone through that door because I am afraid of the burden that waits me on that side of the door. Fear of responsibility makes us self-sabotage every single time we give into it. And hear me, because if you're struggling with a fear of success, a fear of responsibility, and you have slammed that door shut, or you have seen the door shut, and you have pointed fingers toward external circumstances or other people as they closed the door, or it was because of something they said or did, it's really your fear of responsibility that caused you to not go through that door of opportunity. That's self-sabotage. But responsibility isn't a burden. It's proof that you're growing. Growth is hard. It takes work. It's not something that just you flip a switch and I've grown. Kind of like healing. When you're going through some healing from something that you've gone through in your life, healing is not just a light switch that's just turned on and okay, I'm all better. It's a process. It's a journey. It's an expedition. It's an experience. Responsibility is the same. It's not just that burden. Yes, it will come with things that may feel in themselves a burden, but that's proof. You know what? A year ago, I couldn't hold this responsibility. A year ago, I wasn't ready for this type of a relationship. A year ago, I couldn't have done this job. It's proof you're growing, and the doors of opportunity rarely open if your focus is a growth mindset and to live that bulletproof life. Doors of opportunity are rarely going to fling open on their hinges until you're ready. Trust that you're ready, or let the circumstances tell you you need more work in that area. But even when that happens, that's not an indication that you should not go through that door at all. So many people wait for all the chips to fall, all the stars to align, them to be ready. I need more work in this area before I'm ready for XYZ. How much opportunity, how much happiness, how much joy have we missed out on in our lives because we did not take the step of opportunity because we feared the responsibility that came with it? And the last fear, it's the fear of regret. The fear of making the wrong decision and later regretting it. This is going to lead to analysis paralysis every day of the week, where we overthink everything and end up doing nothing. Well, what if this happens wrong? And what if I do this? And what if I make that mistake? And what if such and such doesn't work out? And what if, and what if, and what if? So we stay stuck and we stay put because the only comfortable option is to do nothing. Jay Shetty, in his book, Think Like a Monk, he says this: indecision is a decision. The fear of making the wrong choice often leads us to make no choice at all, which is the biggest regret of all. Imagine this: you've been debating for years on whether to move to a new city or start a new job or finally go all in on that relationship. But every time you get close to a decision, you think, what if this isn't the right move? What if I regret it? So you stay put year after year, watching others take the chances that you were too afraid to take yourself. Life only happens once. I have spent my share of time with people on their deathbed. Family, friends, and friends of friends, people I didn't know well. And several times I have asked that question, looking back at your life, what do you regret? Every single person doesn't say, I regretted starting that business. I regretted dating that person. I regretted walking the Appalachian Trail. Whatever that is, I regretted doing those things. They don't say that. What they say is, I regretted not marrying her, or I regretted not taking that job, or I regretted not finishing that book. I regretted not starting that business. It's the things we didn't do that we could have done that we carry with regret. Regret isn't about making the wrong choice. It's about making no choice at all. The only way to know if something is right is to do it. If you don't do it, you will never know if it was right or wrong. You will never know if it was the best choice. You will never know. All you'll know is, I didn't do it. So I guess we'll never know. If you want a lot of regret in the final moments of your life, choose nothing. Choose no one. Choose nowhere. You'll have lots of regret. So those are the four primary types of fear, and the majority of us struggles with one or more of these on a daily basis. Question for you, which type of fear did you most resonate with as the one that you struggle with the most? It's helpful to identify and understand it, isn't it? Just understanding a little bit more of those four types of fear and how they show up in everyday life will give us some tools to be able to face them better, navigate each situation more effectively. Hey, it's Thomas, and if this episode resonates with you, I want to make sure you know about our free community, Becoming Bulletproof. It's a free community built for people just like you, people that feel stuck in the shadow of past failure or struggling just to move forward after setbacks and challenges in life. Maybe you've struggled to find a place where you can finally reclaim your identity or rebuild the confidence you've lost or find that resilience to thrive. This isn't just a community group. This is meant to be a movement, a transformative space where men and women can redefine who they are and break free from those limiting beliefs and develop habits and skills necessary to create the life they love. In Becoming Bulletproof, you're going to discover how to turn pain into power and setbacks into stepping stones. You'll find tools to build emotional resilience and clarity and confidence, even practical strategies for setting boundaries and mastering time management. I mean, who doesn't need that? Forming habits that fuel long-term growth? Bring it. Most importantly, you're going to find a community that's got your back. Every step of the way, we're going to share stories and celebrate wins together, hold each other up when we need that support to move forward. So, if you're ready to stop letting your past define who you are today and start living that creation of a future you deserve, well, this is your moment. This is your step. Join Becoming Bulletproof today. It's free and it's waiting for you. So go to becomingbulletproof.info right now and sign up for that free community. Let's do this. Together we can become bulletproof. Join today. You know, fear is universal and unavoidable. It is part of being a human being. The real issue is how we respond to fear. Too often, we've built a comfort zone made of excuses. I'm not ready. It's too late for me. What if I fail? These excuses become the chains that hold us back every day, not fear itself. Psychologist Dr. Susan Jeffers, in her research, explains, it's in her book, Chapter 1 of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. In Chapter 1, she says this: pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness. Facing the fear is less fearing or fearful than the feeling of helplessness that comes from doing nothing. That's what she's saying. Fear itself is not insurmountable, but excuses reinforce the helplessness part of it. And that leads to stagnation, and that leads to just building your muscle to fear every possible scenario coming. What happens if you don't fix this? Well, you remain stuck. You're going to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Your relationships, your career, your sense of purpose is going to go stagnant, plateaued. The potential that you have to create a meaningful, fulfilling life will stay untapped. A client of mine, Maria, she spent years blaming fear for her inability to leave a toxic job. In reality, it was her excuse of, I'm never going to find something better, that really kept her from even trying for a long time. As well as some of those fear, the fear of ruin. It's the paycheck and, all of the stability that comes from this. And how often in our lives do we acknowledge and dismiss toxicity in our environment for the sake of security? Once she acknowledged this and she took steps, her fear transformed into excitement. She landed a position she still has right now that aligned with her values. She never would have gotten there if she'd stayed in her fear. I can remember personally standing in the wreckage of my second divorce. My fear told me, you're going to fail at every relationship you ever have. My excuse was, you don't have time to work on yourself because you have 2 daughters that depend on you. You see the difference? Because my fear was not being valued, not deserving that relationship, but my excuse was, I don't have time to work on myself and figure those things out because I am a dad. That excuse kept me from making real change for weeks. When I finally confronted it, I realized that the fear wasn't the problem. It was the story I was telling myself about why I couldn't grow. And recognizing that allowed me to rebuild not only my identity, but also the relationships that mattered the most. If today's episode resonated with you at all, I want to offer you something, an incredible resource to take that next step in your journey beyond the fear. It's my free book, The Bulletproof Mindset. It dives deep into the principles that we discuss every week on this show. It's packed full with strategies to help you rebuild, redefine, reclaim your life with resilience and purpose. Whether you're navigating the aftermath of a divorce, coping with a major loss, or just simply trying to find your footing after failure, this book's for you. Inside, you're going to find insights on cultivating clarity, energy, courage, influence, and these are the pillars of a bulletproof life. You can grab your free copy at bulletproofmindset.co/ebook-mindset. Again, that's bulletproofmindset.co/ebook-mindset. My gift to you to take a big step into becoming a stronger, more empowered version of yourself. Don't wait. Download it today and start building that life that you deserve to live. Fear really isn't the problem. Your reaction to it is. You either let fear own you or you face it head on. Face your fear or let fear own you. Most people wrap their fear in their excuses, but here's the truth. Excuses are just the lies that we tell ourselves wrapped in reasons. If you're tired of feeling stuck, let's break this down. Let's actually do something about it. So here are 4 things that can happen in each one of these fears. We're going to take these fears head on. Number 1, the fear of rejection. Stop letting excuses cover up the real fear. Every time you say, I don't have time, or I'm just not ready, what you're really saying is, I don't want to be judged. Excuses are lies wrapped in reasons. We've got to call them out and recognize the reason we're giving so that we don't fall into its trap. And then it gets into this vicious cycle of rejection every single time. Another client of mine, John, he blamed the bad market conditions for not starting his business. Had incredible business opportunity. His real fear, what if people think I'm a fraud? That was his real fear. It took us weeks to get to that fear. And once he called it out, his own BS, he took that action, he built a successful company, and he's just tearing it up today. So I want you to ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Say it out loud. I want your ears to hear your mouth speak those words. Own it. Stop pretending that it's about time or money or readiness. Expose yourself to the small rejections. When you take a small risk of rejection every day, you build up that courage to face that possibility of rejection every day, and it makes it easier to take that step. So send that message. Make that call. Post that content. Start that business. The more that you do it, the less power rejection holds over you. So start small. Think about that one little thing that you're avoiding doing right now and do it. Who cares if you encounter rejection because you're taking that step not to be accepted. You're taking that step to tell yourself and prove to yourself that rejection isn't as strong as the possibility of growth. All right. Second fear, fear of ruin. Okay. This is, again, financial hardship, but also the fear of really losing something that you have gained. Confidence comes from action, not avoidance. I don't know anybody that avoids something that becomes more confident in it because they avoided it. If I just ignore it, it will go away. Guys, confidence comes from action. You're not scared of going broke. You're scared of what failing says about you. A real fear of ruin is really more about image than it is about things that we have or the things that we're about to lose. You're really scared of what failing says about you, but avoiding the risk doesn't protect you. It keeps you stuck. Again, this is from Brendan Burchard, High Performance Habits. He says this: confidence comes from acting in spite of your fear, not avoiding it. One of my clients avoided dating for years. She just didn't do it. She kept telling herself, I need to focus on my kids, my home. Every time we talked about getting out there and even just, being around her community and just getting connected and growing with people, even just friends, much less dating, every time we talked about that, this came up. I just don't have time. I need to focus on my kids. They need me. Her real fear, vulnerability. Once she stopped making the excuses of being vulnerable, she took small steps and she found her partner, her match. She found love again. She never would have found that love had she stayed in that excuse mode. Yes, her kids did need her, but she realized she became so much more effective as a parent by filling her own cup first, by taking care of something that was glaringly empty in her own heart and life and mind. So make small risks today. Take a small financial risk, okay? Invest in learning, branding, something that moves you forward. Reframe the loss potential as a lesson. Instead of, what if I lose? Ask yourself, what will I learn? Okay, this is the skill. Write these things down. Take action before you feel ready to take the action, because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to get. I promise. The third, fear of responsibility. Guys, stop avoiding the pressure. Start using it. When you use the pressure, you grow exponentially faster. You look at everyone in public forum, and I'm thinking about athletes at the top of their game. The ones that are at the top of their game don't avoid the pressure. They use it. You say you want success in every aspect or any aspect of your life, but deep down, when you're struggling here, you fear what happens when you get it. More responsibility, more expectations, more pressure. Those of you out there right now that are struggling with that open door of a relationship, okay, you're struggling with that commitment issue, or you have been dating someone that has a commitment issue. This is why. It's not because of you. It has nothing to do with you. What happens here is the commitment is transferred into the excuse of pressure. I don't want the pressure. Yes, I love that person. Yes, I want that person. Yes, I love the idea of that new job. I want that job. But the pressure of it becomes heavier than the risk of taking it and the success that comes with it. Most people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of the weight that comes with that success. So say that you finally get offered that job or that big promotion. But instead of being excited, you start to panic. More responsibility means more chances to mess up. And so you decline. This is an example of what I'm talking about. You've convinced yourself that it's just not the right time. Admit that the fear of responsibility is just fear of failure in disguise. They function a lot the same way. So take on a new challenge before you're ready. Okay? Start small, but start. Remind yourself this: pressure creates growth. Write that down. Pressure creates growth. Nothing great ever came from playing it safe. The fourth fear of regret. Action breeds confidence. It develops courage. You think that you're playing it safe here, but you're really actually guaranteeing regret. The worst mistake isn't making the wrong choice. It's making no choice at all. Going back to my experience with several people literally on their deathbed, their biggest regret was not the choices they made, it was the choices they didn't make. It was the things they never did. It was the trips they never took. It was the risk they never took. That's where their regret was centered. Action breeds confidence. It breeds courage. Stop worrying and start. I kept telling myself after my second divorce, it's just not the right time to take this step. And a lot of it was because of my kids. That actually was one of the excuses I gave myself in not taking an incredible offer for a new job. I was terrified of making the wrong move. What if this didn't work out and now I'm a single parent with one income and I have no way to support my two kids? When I finally stopped waiting and I started to take action, I pivoted my entire focus to coaching, which is what I do today. That changed everything. If I had stood in front of that open door and not gone through it, I wouldn't be on this podcast today. I wouldn't be working with many clients that I work to get breakthrough after breakthrough every single day. And you know what that does for me? Working with people, watching those light bulb moments, watching the breakthroughs happen, I learn so much more about myself in those moments and in those experiences and examples of other people, because my focus is on, I don't want anything to be a regret I didn't take some opportunity or chance or risk. It changed everything. Make one decision today that you've been putting off. No more waiting. No more excuses. Make the decision and take the step today. Take one bold action every single day. Stop hesitating. Life can only be lived once. And if you're holding off on that opportunity and you're hesitating taking that step, I promise you, you're guaranteeing regret over it. So ask yourself this, okay? And I want you to write this down. This is so super important for this fear. Would I regret not doing this? Whatever this is, ask yourself, would I regret doing this? Would I regret dating her? Would I regret taking this job? Would I regret investing in this business? Would I regret taking that trip? If the answer is yes, you already know what to do. So what are you going to do about all of this? Fear. Fear is only as powerful as you allow it to be in your life. So you have two choices. In all of these 4 types of fear and everything that happens and how they show up and the things to do about them that we've gone through today, you have 2 choices when it comes to fear. You can face it, act, and build the bulletproof life you want and you deserve, or you can keep making excuses and stay stuck and wonder what if. Those are your choices. You already know which one leads to regret. So what's the one fear you're done letting control you? Drop the excuse. Take the step. Make it today so you can make today the day you moved forward. If you found value in this discussion today, in today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Bulletproof Mindset Podcast and also follow us on YouTube at The Bulletproof Life and Instagram at This Bulletproof Life. Your journey to resilience and growth starts with every step you take, and that can be today. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Remember this, fear isn't the problem, the excuses we make are. Share this podcast with somebody that you care about who needs to hear this message today. Together, let's help more and more people create that bulletproof life together. So for now, so long. Have a great and courageous week, everybody.